Hello, craft beer friends, and welcome to Season 8, Episode 13 of Tap to Craft Podcast. I am Danny Lewis, coming to you from Boise, Idaho, and my partner in craft, the dog whisperer, and my favorite Florida man, also known as Drinking Eagle from Tampa, Florida, Mr. Chris McKenzie. How you doing tonight, Chris? And of course, what is in your glass?
Well, I'm doing even better now that I saw Mr. Jeff Sleigh'r just hopped on.
Oh, sweet.
But I am doing really well, just enjoying the, I guess what's considered my Sunday, because we're off Sundays and Mondays. So This is, I'm finishing up my weekend. Had a crazy week back to work after the holiday. And from what I got from you two, you were getting into some fun stuff too. So, but yeah, I'm doing really well. And this evening I'm drinking a beer from Indeed. I can't see myself on my screen. Hang on, let me move this window. I got just you. So I've got just you on my screen.
You're focused on me, huh?
Yeah, I don't need to see myself unless I'm doing stuff like this, showing you the beer that I'm drinking. A mixed nuts cream ale from Indeed Brewing Company. Nice. And Indeed is... Silence sucks when you're trying to find something too.
I can remove it.
I don't know where it is. Where are they from?
It sounds familiar. I should know. I was going to say Illinois. I was in Indiana or something like that. I think Indiana, right?
Minneapolis, Minnesota.
I was going to say Minneapolis as well. I just decided to go with Indiana.
I feel like somebody's going to send us
my first guess. Yeah.
Somebody's going to give me crap about that.
Where's Eric? Eric's going to be all over our butts.
Yeah, Eric's going to be like, oh, you guys,
no love for Minnesota.
Thanks for remembering us.
We are a state.
Yeah, but yeah, it's a mixed nuts cream ale. I'm really enjoying this one, and it's nice because it just talks about the flavors in it. It's got some bready flavors, got some nutty flavors in it because you're definitely getting some hazelnuts,
some mixed nuts,
and some salt.
Brazil nuts,
and some salt. It's really simple. Salty nuts and some bread. That's about the.
Oh yeah, I love some good salty nuts.
But enough about me, Denny. What about you? What are you drinking? How are you doing today?
As I showed anyone that was on our before starting show, I am drinking something from Ninkasi Brewing, a big giant stovepipe can called Sleigh'r Winter Ale. And this is, look at that sleigh with fire shooting out of it.
I like it.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. But yeah, it's a winter ale, and it's a dark alt. I think I mentioned this when we did the discussion on alt beers, right? You see how dark that is?
Oh wow!
It's like, I think this is styled as a double alt.
Okay.
Now that I said that, I'm probably completely wrong, but I'm going to stick with the alt ale, and I'm not going to. Let's see. The Cascades are a winter playground, and Sleigh'r is our après ski. I don't know. Must be some kind of ski term. It is deep chocolatey malt flavor with a lasting bitterness like a toasty fire on a dark night. 7.2%, 60 IBU. So it's got some decent IBUs in here. And this beer is fantastic. I really do enjoy this beer. And when I came across this big giant can, 19.3 ounces.
Wow. Okay. It's a little bigger than I thought.
For $3.50. I mean, that's nearly 20 ounces of beer for $3.50 of a good, strong beer. Come on, man. You got to go for it.
And you can't go wrong with a big old can. So it works out pretty good.
They used to, on the back of my wall here, towards the door, right around there, there's a Sleigh'r bottle. They used to sell this in 22-ounce 22-ounce bottles. But I'm glad they went to this big can because, yeah.
I have another beer that's going to be coming in cans now. Hunahpu. Hunahpu is moving to cans this year.
Really?
Yep.
In big cans or
16-ounce cans.
16
I think I ordered it today. But they have a separate. They have two options that you can get: the regular one, and then they have this one that's made with blackberries now.
Okay.
Which is first that they've ever done. So they had an option where you could just get a 4-pack of the regular, or a 2-pack of the regular, or a 4-pack of regular Hunahpu and the blackberry one. So I got a 4-pack of each. So
Well, good for you.
So it's coming out, and
Well, they're only
interesting.
16-ounce cans, so come on.
Yeah,
It's not like
look, I am so excited that beers come out in 16-ounce cans anymore.
yeah.
Jeremy Garrison just hopped on.
Oh, Jeremy.
I want to know too, for those of you that are out there listening right now or watching us on Facebook Live, what is everybody else drinking tonight? Denny and I always talk about what we're drinking, and then I have to remind myself to ask everybody. I think I'm going to start putting it in the notes. So, guys, what are you drinking? Oh, and by the way, we're going to be reading the check-ins on Untapped here very shortly, so make sure you get those in.
Get them in. So my other beer I'm going to drink, I'm only drinking 2 beers for the show because that's the way I'm flying today. A big can and a thing, but I've got this came out, Deschutes Red Chair Northwest Pale Ale, and I think it was, I want to say it was Eric Gronley that mentioned this beer. I think last time we recorded in our notes, I can't remember, but somebody mentioned, "Oh, I can't wait for Red Chair to come out." I think, and
that does sound familiar.
Yeah, it is. It is really a fantastic pale ale. I absolutely love this beer. I think I give it a 5 cap rating for a pale ale.
Jeremy, what's for dinner? He said I may be able to listen a bit while I make dinner. Good, what's Jeremy. For dinner? What time are we coming over?
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you, but
no. But yeah, I saw that came into this, came onto the aisle, and I had to pick up a 6-pack, and I think I need to pick up a couple more 6-packs because it's got a great malt base and nice hoppy character, really well balanced pale, but gives you the best of both worlds. And man, it's just so easy to drink, and I could sit and drink a whole 6-pack, in one sitting. Yeah, pretty easily. It's nice. So it's a seasonal. So if you get Deschutes, go get it right now, and we'll probably talk about Deschutes a little later. What do you think, Chris? We'll probably talk about that.
More than likely, maybe twice as much.
That's right.
Chicken with sour cream and mustard sauce. Oh, okay, that sounds good. That sounds good. That would actually go really good with the beer I'm drinking right now too.
Nice. Well, Happy New Year, everyone. I forgot to say that at the beginning of the show. It's 2022. This is a new year. We're forgetting about 2021. That's behind us. We're focused on the future. We're focused on all the positive things 2022 is going to provide us. Right, Chris?
Absolutely.
Stay positive. It's going to be a great year. We all deserve a great year. But, Chris, let's get the show started. Are you ready?
I'm absolutely ready.
All right. But before we get too far in the show, we always want to let anyone new listening to Tap the Craft Podcast know what we are all about. We are an educational podcast focused around celebrating all things craft beer because we want to help you, our listener, along in your craft beer journey and adventures. And you're listening to episode 195. We're almost at 200. Amazing. Recording on Monday, January 10th, 2022. And it is our first show of 2022. It's great. It feels good. We are live on Facebook. We encourage all of our listeners that if you want to see how this show is made, see us live, in person, faces, beers, you can join us on Facebook the Monday before the show releases at 6:30 Mountain Time, 8:30 Eastern Time. So,
Matt Helmer said, "Holy crap, almost 200 episodes." Jeff Sleigh'r just said he's sipping on a Westbrook 11th anniversary chocolate and caramel stout, super tasty. And Johan Halberg just hopped on as well.
Yes, Johan. Yeah, Matt, Johan, Jeff, everyone. Thank you for joining us. All the way over in Sweden, diehard support right there from Sweden. Thank you, Johan. And so join us. You can join the crew and chat and be part of the show. We read off stuff as we go, and we love interacting with you. So join us on Facebook. And in this episode, talking about Jeff Sleigh'r, this episode is going to be brought to you by the letter D, because we're going to be talking about our favorite breweries that start with the letter D. And we have some listener feedback, including some information about fooders. What the heck is a fooder? Well, stay tuned because we'll be talking about fooders as well. And of course, you can count on Chris and I having some great conversation as we go along. Now, Chris and I would like to thank all of our Patreon supporters because this episode is brought to you in part by our satisfied Patreon supporters like Mike Allen, Bill Schlemmer, Amanda, and Kevin Argauer, who are our virtual producers, and Tom Byrne, Jeff Seiler, Johan Halberg, Tara Carlson, Chad Lamassa, Mark Schurtz, and Eric Gromley, who want to buy us a virtual beer. If you enjoy the content that Chris and I put out, we invite you to support the show by toasting your hosts or buying us a virtual beer, or even becoming a virtual producer. You can explore the options on our support page by visiting patreon.com/tapthecraft. Okay, well, I talked about having some feedback from our last episode, and it just happens that Johan is listening, and he's the first one that wrote us an email. He says, I just want to wish you a Merry Christmas, and thank you for the latest episode, Cooking with Beer. It inspired me when I made some classic Swedish meatballs the other day, an absolute must on Christmas table if you ask me. I actually boiled them for a few minutes in a home-brewed porter before frying them. Turned out really delicious. I might try with an imperial stout next time to get even more flavor out of it. Well, that's fantastic, Johan. I love some good Swedish meatballs, and I think porter is good. Imperial stout, maybe it's better. We'll have to try that. But I'm definitely made me think about finding my own, like finding a Swedish meatball recipe, kind of putting my own twist on it to make it so that it's edible by my wife and I, and doing just like you said. I won't have any home brew to put in there, but definitely utilizing a porter, a nice strong porter, maybe a Black Butte porter.
Yeah,
would be good. And seeing if we can get some of that flavor in there. That sounds like a great idea. Thank you for that.
Well, he said he's at work, so it's just coffee for him. But cheers to you guys.
Yeah, he's working the night shift.
Poor guy. It's what's it? I mean, what time is it over there? What's it?
I think we figured it out before. It was like 12 hours difference or 10 hours, 12, 11 or 12 hours difference.
Okay, well, he'll either tell us or we'll just look it up.
Yeah, but it's he works he does work that night shift. All right, Chris, why don't you go ahead and read the next correspondence we got?
All right. Of course, if the computer would work. There we go. Mark Reedy, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, wrote us an email also, and he said, "I just discovered your podcast a couple of weeks ago, nice. And when I'm not working, I'm binging your old episodes." He's up to episode 91 at the moment. Hey, buddy, you got almost just a little over 100 to go, so you're like halfway there. He said, "I'm wondering if you have a calendar of upcoming shows so I can tune in live. Also, will the next episode cover breweries that begin with the letter D? I don't want to miss that one." He said it's close to 3 a.m. there right now.
3 a.m.
Yeah, so I don't want to miss that one. I'm hoping to hear my favorite brewery, Dust Bowl Brewing Company from Turlock, California. See if it makes the list. You may like the Public Enemy Baltic Porter.
Wow, you know me, Mark.
You had me at Baltic Porter.
Yeah, give me a Baltic Porter. You'll find out that I have one Baltic Porter on my list. I drank 2 this last week. I love that style. So yeah, and if I remember correctly, this Public Enemy Baltic Porter that he mentions is a Great American Beer Fest medal winner. I don't remember if it won. I think it won bronze medal, if I remember correctly. But I remember seeing this Dust Bowl like one year win a few medals. So that's fantastic. But you know what? He's got a good point. And I wrote him back to let him know that we do have an event calendar on the main page of the website. If you scroll all the way down to the bottom of the page, there'll be a calendar there that will identify when the shows release and when Chris and I will be doing our Facebook Live recording. So if you can't remember which day the shows come out, just go to the homepage of our website, and there's a calendar on the bottom. So that's good feedback to let all of our listeners know how you can find it when we'll be on Facebook Live.
And I gotta say, I'm excited enough to know that I've had some beers from Dust Bowl.
Okay, good. Keep that in mind, because I wasn't sure if you're going to put Dust Bowl on your list or not.
4 of them.
Yeah, okay. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about it when we get to our favorite breweries that start with a D. All right. Then we had Eric Gronley. He wrote us an email. Says, "Happy New Year. I have been seeing breweries utilizing this vessel for beer making lately. I was curious as to its history and use, and maybe others will too. And he's attached an article to the email, and the article is called "What is a Foeder?" and and how even to say the word. And it was found on hopculture.com website, written by Pete Doolin. And I just want to give everyone a taste of what the article has to offer. And I think Eric was reading my mind. I was trying to think of something I could add, do a little bit differently to the show in 2022. And one of the things I thought of, and that I want to do before, and it kind of like fell to the wayside, was I want to try to incorporate a term of the show, right? Every show we do a small little mini segment that just kind of defines a term that we use quite a bit on the podcast, that people that haven't been listening from day one, that hears a word that we're saying, we don't necessarily explain what we mean by that term, whether it's a term describing a flavor or aroma or a yeast character or a way a beer looks or feels or whatever, or during some of the processes or materials and vessels that are being used in the brew house. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to start doing a term and just do a quick little definition of it, and maybe that will turn into a full, we might turn it into a full topic as well. And so I thought, wow, Eric was reading my mind, because I'm going to utilize his article, and we're going to give a little snippet of what a foeder is. And then in the next episode, we're going to dive deeper into this article, because this article has a lot of good information, but I don't want to do it all today. So I'm going to give you a little taste and then bring you guys back for next episode to find out the rest, if you don't want to read the article. So what is a foeder? It's a Dutch word, foeder, pronounced food-er. It refers to a large vertical or horizontal oak barrel where wild, sour, or clean beer can be aged or fermented. The French, who spell the word as Foudre, have used them for centuries to age wine. But Belgian brewery Rodenbach began using foeders, that's spelled Foeder, in the late 1800s to age sour ales like Rodenbach Classic and Flanders Red Ale. And other European breweries, such as the brewery Boon, have long used foeders to produce lambic beers. In America, the New Belgium Brewery in Fort Collins, Colorado, launched its wood beer program nearly 25 years ago with La Folie, a Flanders-style sour brown ale that matures in foeders. Since then, Firestone Walker Brewing in Paso Robles, California, the Brewery in Placentia, California, and numerous other American craft breweries use these vessels to create a wide range of sour, mixed culture, and more recently, clean beers. So, as I said, you can read the rest of the article by following the link, or stay tuned for our next episode where we will dive deeper into the foeder. So what do you think, Chris? I kind of whetted the appetite for finding more about these foeders, right?
You absolutely did. If you, I already know what they are, and I want to learn more about them.
Exactly. I knew what they were as well. But after I read this article, I said, wow, there was a lot more to this than I really thought about. And I'm glad that Eric brought it to our attention, because I love learning about stuff like this. And I think our listeners would enjoy it too. But I don't want to, we already had a topic for this, and this came late. Eric just sent this to us yesterday or Saturday, and I got to it today. I was busy this weekend, and I went and opened Tap to Craft email, and I saw I had email over the weekend. It was Eric. He sent this article. So I'd already had the topic, but we will dive deeper into it next episode. And, you know what? I put this in the wrong spot. We have a voicemail. Can you believe it? It's Mark again. He not only sent us the email, but he wanted to send us a voicemail so that, to let us know that he'll be listening.
Well, I tell you what, I'll see if I can't, it should be in our email, right?
No, it's in my personal email.
Oh, okay.
I linked the account to the wrong one.
Okay, never mind that. I won't.
Sorry, man.
That's okay.
I know. I should send you the file so you can just play it. But I'm going to do this the old-fashioned way here, where I just play it through my phone. So here is what Mark, and he sent this like literally 15 minutes before, or maybe 20 minutes before we started recording. So it's like really fresh. Here it is.
Hey guys, it's Mark from Monterey, California. New listener. Found you guys about 2 weeks ago. I've been binge listening, and I'm looking forward to tonight's live on Facebook. I start bartending at 5 o'clock, but I'm going to have an earpod in one ear, listening to my patrons of the bar in the other, and trying to watch you guys on my little screen.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully Dust Bowl Brewing Company will make the list. That is my favorite. That is my day job as well. Hope you guys have a great podcast. Bye-bye.
Well, thank you, Mark. We love it when we get voicemails from our listeners. We love hearing your guys' voice. We love hearing the questions you guys have and everything. So thank you. Even though you sent the email, I'm glad you sent the voicemail as well, because that just makes us happy to play it on there. And yeah, I hope you're able to get on and at least listen a little bit tonight and hear us talk about our favorite D breweries. Okay, well, you know what? Let's give out our contact information. Let's first start with the voicemail, right? If you want to be like Mark and send us a voicemail, it's super easy. Just call 208-536-3359, or if it's easier for you to remember, 208-53-ODDLY, and leave us your voicemail. We'd love to hear it. And if you'd like to contact us through email like the other three listeners did, you can do that very easily too. Just send us an email at taptocraft@gmail.com, or if you'd rather just send us a quick little blurb or an article on Twitter or Instagram, you can do that at taptocraft. And we do have our Facebook page at facebook.com/taptocraft. And visit our website. That's where we have our event calendar, which will tell you when we record and when we release shows. And we have a lot of good information on there, as well as all the podcasts and links to the videos that we do as well. Okay, Chris, let's continue the conversation, because now it's time to untap the craft and see what our listeners are drinking according to Untapped.
So it looks like we have a fair amount of check-ins to read through here. And while we were starting the show, I did see a couple of them show up that popped up as we were just kind of talking. So, Matt Knight got one in there, and there was someone else that I just saw too. But we're going to start out with, telling you how we'll read your check-ins. Make sure you guys follow me on Untapped at MCK1345. And then when we record, which is usually at approximately 8:30 p.m. Eastern time, or in Denny's case, 6:30 Mountain time. Your Mountain time, right?
Yes, Mountain time.
6:30 p.m. Mountain time every other Monday, unless holidays get in the middle of that, and then we record all weird. But hey, look on the website, taptocraft.com. You can find that out. But again, make sure you follow me on Untapped so we can read your check-ins. And we're going to start out with Mr. Will D is drinking a Castillo Coconut Porter by Ancient City Brewing. Simply put, solid. 3.5 caps for that beer. And a good porter, especially if you can put some coconut in it, sounds pretty good also. And then the next one on my list is going to be Mr. Jeff Sleigh'r. He's drinking a Lloyd Christmas. Jeff, I just looked at the picture that you posted. I was like, why would they call it Lloyd Christmas? That's the Dumb and Dumber.
Oh.
Yeah. So fantastic can art. And I was just kind of looking at that one real quick too. Yeah, that's a pretty cool one. Now, Jeff, if there is a second one with Harry Dunn on the as a matching can, I will beg you for those labels on the can. So let's see. Now I got to go back because I was so excited to click on something. There it is. Okay, Jeff is drinking a Lloyd Christmas by Alvarado Street Brewery, a delicious hazy double IPA named after Jim Carrey's character in the movie Dumb and Dumber. A true cinematic masterpiece. No argument there. Yes. So you're saying there's a chance. Buddy.
Okay, now I got to watch the movie.
You've touched me here. I very much appreciate that. 4.25 caps for that beer. Next on the list is going to be Chad Lamassa, continuing his check-in streak for the 16,433rd show in a row, is drinking a Taharka Bros Honey Graham Porter by Heavy Seas Beer, located there right in Baltimore. Picked this up at the brewery on Saturday. Nice porter. There's a bit of honey on the finish, but I'm not really getting the graham cracker. All in all, it's good. I just want a little more. 3 3/4 caps for that check-in. What do you mean by a little more, Chad? Let us know. Kevin Argauer is drinking an original Pils by Sleigh'r. Just gave it 3 caps on this one. And I got to commend you, Kevin. You didn't tag Amanda in it, so she'd have to check it in.
She's probably doing dry January.
Look, you know anybody doing that?
If anyone that I know is doing it, we're not friends anymore.
If anybody is doing it, let me know so I don't, have to stick my foot in my mouth. But why? Why would you do that?
I don't. Yeah.
All right. Next on the list, Bill Schlemmer is drinking a Wait 24 Hours by G5 Brewing Company. Drinking that at the State Street Station, and he wrote, "Okay, quite bitter and a touch of dank. Maybe it's the Idaho 7."
Yeah.
Okay. 3 3/4 caps for that beer. You always have wonderful things to say, Denny, about the Idaho 7.
I'm being positive in 2022. I have nothing negative to say about Idaho 7.
Did you just hop shame him? You cannot hop shame people, Denny.
No, I'm positive. This is positive Denny for 2022.
All right. Next on the list, Ryan Whedon is drinking a Big Bad Baptist Chocolate Mint 2021. This is their release number 2, according to the listing on Untapped, by Epic Brewing Company out of Utah and Colorado. Mm-hmm. And he's at the Untapped Grill and Bar. Great burgers at that place in Cuyahoga Falls. He said mint isn't super prevalent, which I like, but it lingers. 4 1/4 caps for that check-in.
Okay.
And
we had that one here. There's, they have 4 different variants that I saw. I picked up one of them. And I don't remember which one I picked up. I haven't drank it yet, but I saw the mint one, and I'm just like, because these are expensive beers as well.
Yeah.
And if I'm going to pick up, I'm not going to pick up more than one. I'm going to choose one, and I chose the one I chose because I thought that would be the one I would enjoy the most. But I saw the mint one, and I was tempted, but I don't have good luck with mint in beer. So I kind of try to stay away.
I can see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those flavors like strawberry that I tend to stay away from, but every once in a while I'll go for it.
It's because you can't really use real strawberries because there's no flavor to it, right? So they got to use the artificial stuff, and then it tastes all weird.
It
tastes artificial, yeah.
So this check-in is coming from someone who purchased their beer at Brewers Haven. Will Sinclair is drinking a Salt Flats Hefeweizen by Salt Flats Brewery. And he said, still one of the best hefts I've ever had. Delish. 4 1/2 caps for that beer.
I need to go find that one if it's the best hef ever.
Salt Flats Hefeweizen.
Okay.
JC is drinking a Sour Saison by New Belgium Brewing. Hey, what a segue from Fooders. From New Belgium Brewing Company. He's 3 1/2 caps on that check-in, drinking it in his Rheingeist glass. My buddy James Martinez is drinking a couple of beers. First one, Future You Hates You.
Wow.
That's with coconut, cacao, toffee, and maple. Ghost 112 by Adroit Theory. Great flavors. As all I said, gave it a 5 cap rating for this beer. But I like the name of that. Future You Hates You. He's also drinking another 5 cap beer, Black Science. What's that? 7? Yeah, it's in Roman numerals. Black Science 7 Cuvée, coffee, coconut, macadamia, vanilla, and barrel aged maple. Ghost 1124 by Adroit Theory. Great mixture of flavors. 5 cap rating on that beer.
Wow.
James, I'm kind of curious to know where you're drinking because it just says at Hayfield. So I'd like to see where you're drinking. But anyway,
he's in Florida with you, right?
Yeah, he's in Zephyr Hills, so probably like the 30 minutes north of us.
Okay.
Matt Knight is drinking a Genesee Springbok. You guys are getting into spring beers already? I guess so. Okay. Springbok by Genesee Brewing Company at the Great Wolf Lodge. Got some healing potion while doing Magic Quest with the kiddos. I hope you're all healed up, buddy. Get those hit points back. Yes. 4 1/4 caps for that beer. And you guys listened. You guys checked into beers when I asked you to. That's so cool. Matt is also drinking a Snow Woman winter lager. Snowman. Okay. There was way too many letters in there for me. Yeah. Snowman winter lager by Resurgence Brewing Company at Magic Quest at Great Wolf Lodge. Found another health potion. My hit points have refilled again. Man. Wow. 4 1/4 caps for that beer.
I need to go to that Wolf. Where's he at? Wolf.
So Great Wolf Lodge. It's like an indoor water park. They have a few of them around the country.
Yeah, it sounds like a good place to go to get healed up.
Yeah, I know. But Steve Korsman just hopped on. Florida Steve. Mark Church is drinking a Trail Magic by Trek Brewing Company.
Nice.
Trying to get it checked in before Chris reads the check-ins. You did it, buddy. I'm so proud of you. You did it.
Good job.
4 1/4 caps for that check-in. And I'm going to hit refresh one more time just in case there is one last one. But that is what everybody's drinking.
Wow, that's a great list of a variety of beers. I'm glad everyone listened and chimed in there at the end. So.
Sup, boys? That's what Florida Steve said.
All right, way to go, Florida Steve. Okay, well, guess what? It is now time for the Brew Buzz. And what is the Brew Buzz? Well, the Brew Buzz is devoted to discussing various beer-related topics. And as we already mentioned, this week we will discuss our favorite breweries that start with the letter D. D for Denny. For dynamite.
Well, as we were continuing this conversation, Eric Gronley just hopped on.
Oh, Eric.
And hopefully he didn't hear that whole,
Minnesota thing.
No, you're going to tell him. He's going to hear it. Because I'm drinking some Minnesota beer today, from Indeed. So, but yeah, let's talk about the breweries with the letter D. Yeah.
So I will say that there's quite a few letter D breweries, but what I found when I was going through, especially my Untapped list, is I don't have a lot of breweries that I drink a lot of beers from that start with letter D. I had so many breweries that I had one check into that I was like, how can I say these are my favorite breweries if I only have one beer? And plus so but there was no brainer before I even looked and to try to determine what other D breweries I drink from. I already knew what my answer was. And I think everyone on this show that's listened to me for any length of time knows that my favorite D brewery is Deschutes Brewery out of Bend, Oregon.
Great choice.
I have been drinking this brewery since probably 92, 93. And as we'll talk about, they opened in 1988. And even then, they weren't distributing outside of Bend except for up to Portland on a few places. So by the time they got up to Washington, where I was stationed, and I was able to drink some of their beer, or actually, you know what? I may have had their beer when I came back down to visit. That may be when I first had their beer, when I come visit family in Oregon. But I've been drinking their beer ever since I had my first Black Butte Porter and just fell in love with that beer from the early 90s. So I just wanted to go ahead, and I think most people are familiar. Deschutes Brewery is a huge brewery. They span across the United States a little bit. They don't quite make it down to your area, do they, Chris?
Sadly, no. And I really wish they did, because they're definitely on my list too.
Yeah, they're a regional brewery in the Pacific Northwest, and they had plans to. And they still have plans to open a satellite brewery on the East Coast in Roanoke, Virginia. And I think they did a really smart thing in not going too fast into that, because I think they saw some other breweries that were doing a similar thing, like Ballast Point and Stone. And they saw that the struggles and the money investment and some failures that were going on. and they decided that let's go ahead and pick out the land, an area. Let's get a brew pub or a pub, and we'll ship our beer over and we'll serve our beer to prepare that area for Deschutes, what Deschutes can do, and win over the consumer. And then we'll be more prepared when we're able to open it up. We'll already have that base knowledge of people know of Deschutes. And then with everything kind of, the craft beer booming and then kind of, faltering a little bit last few years, especially for regional breweries, even before COVID, the breweries that were taking the biggest hit were regional breweries because everyone was going towards the super like hyper local stuff that people they were getting right in their same town or even in their same neighborhood. And they were starting to not drink as much of those bigger regional breweries because they want to drink local. And I think a lot of regional breweries had an issue like that. And Deschutes I think we talked about one of the articles we talked about a year or two ago was about how they saw a decline in numbers because of that phenomenon. So it was smart that they didn't go, all in and do that big investment right away. But they're still, I believe they're still looking into doing that once, things stabilize a little bit better, especially after COVID. Yeah.
Steve Korsman said that he got his hands on a Deschutes beer once. He thinks it was part of a porch bomb that he received, or, he had beer shipped to him. That's a brewery. Not only do they have that, they have that expansion, but and I want them down here. I really do. Anytime I can get a hold of Deschutes beer, I do it, and sometimes it costs me.
Yeah, they make some good beer. But let me go ahead and talk about them. Just really quickly, not too long of a little write-up here, but in 1988, Gary Fish established a small brew pub in downtown Bend, Oregon, and named it after the iconic waterway flowing through the town, the Deschutes River. With a belief that good beer brings people together, Gary founded Deschutes Brewery and Public House as just that, a home for the public. A community gathering place where friends, family, and strangers could come together over some great food and a house-brewed pint of beer. In its first year, the Public House sold 310 barrels of beer. Today, the brewery sells more than 225,000 barrels of beer each year, and Deschutes can be found in 32 states and even a few countries. Over the years, Deschutes breweries expanded beyond the original pub with a brewery and tasting room less than a mile across town and on the banks of the Deschutes River in Bend, a second brew pub in downtown Portland, and a tasting room in Roanoke, Virginia. There's a YouTube video that was released in 2020 that highlighted Deschutes Brewery, and part of the whole craft beer movement exploration documentary. And it's how Deschutes Brewery brought craft beer and a revitalization to the small town of Bend, Oregon, and was in the forefront of the craft beer movement in the late 80s. And that YouTube video is called Pints, Flagship on the River. And I'll have a link in the show notes that you guys can go and check it out. So it's about 24-minute video, and it's really good. This is the second time I've watched it. I watched it when it first released it in 2020. Yeah, in February. I think it was February 2020 they released it. I watched it when they first released it, and I think I might have mentioned it on the show. And I watched it again when I went to get information on it. And I think it's a great little video to get an idea of what it was like to try to start a brewery in 1988. It was not the same as it is now, and I really enjoyed it. It's a well done thing. So yeah, go check that out. So that's my my brewery of choice. So Chris, I have a second one, but I'm going to go ahead and let you go and talk about yours before I keep talking about mine.
Yeah. So I'm why did you put that in mine? You put some notes.
I just put it below.
Okay.
So that, because I wasn't sure if you were going to put that in yours, and so I thought that if you didn't, then we would talk about it. So don't worry.
Okay. So I've got a bone to pick now with Deschutes, because Johan just said we actually get the Abyss here in Sweden nowadays. Got one in the fridge. Looking forward to try it. Deschutes. What the hell, man? On the other side of the globe, my boy gets some of the Abyss on the other side of the globe, and I can't get it here in Florida. That's cool.
So it's interesting because in the video they show, the former mayor of Bend was on a cruise in the in a similar area of where Johan is, and he talks about on the cruise ship he sees there's Mere Pond, Black Butte Porter, on this cruise ship that he's on, 6,000 miles away. So it's pretty cool.
Okay, well, I'll let it go. Next time I travel, I'll have to make sure I get some. One of the breweries on my list, and we kind of already talked a little bit about it, Denny, Deschutes, that's on my list too. Yeah. Anytime I can get it, I'll go find some of their beers, especially the Black Butte, the anniversary beers, all that good stuff. But the one of the breweries that I want to talk about on my list is Drecker Brewing Company out of Fargo, North Dakota.
I knew it.
Yeah, and it was, it was really funny as I was going through my check-ins, and I was, I'm getting ready to do a really cool thing on the wall behind me. I'm going to get some magnetic paint and all the beer labels that I peel off and put on little magnet sheets. It's going to be a wall of beer labels here before you know it. So I'm really looking forward to that. But Drecker labels were one of the ones that actually started me into that, because not only was there can art, can art for me is a big thing, but those were one of the first couple of beers that I saw from Drecker that I saw their can art, and I went, okay, I got to get a hold of their beer. Like, their can art is awesome. And it was also right along the time when those slushy smoothie, like fruited sours, started hitting real big, and that was the big thing that they were they were selling a lot of, and their IPAs are fantastic. But the only way that I get them is through that beer shipping company that sends me beer from Minnesota and sends me beer from Bend, Oregon, and that's how I get my Fargo, North Dakota beer. But wanted to read a little bit about from their website, is that this is just off of their website, which is I believe it's just dreckerbrewing.com, but I'm sure that'll be in our notes here somewhere. I'll put a link. But it says, beer is our craft, but Drecker is about more than the contents of a glass. It's about what happens when a few of those glasses get raised together. It's about doing what you want to do in a cool place with people you want to be with. Drecker is about you, after all. We love that you'd care enough to join us, and we can't wait to see where this voyage goes when a couple more beers get raised together. Valhalla can wait. We started, as many breweries do, just a couple of friends brewing in a garage who loved great beer, had a crazy dream, and worked their asses off to make it come true. We won't bore you with some long, meandering story about how we all met or how the stars aligned for the brewery to come together. If you want to know the whole story, we'll bore you with it in the tap room.
Yeah.
Or just wait for the Lifetime movie to come out. Ooh, that'd be a good one. Really, we're just four regular guys who are serious about beer and not much else. It shows. And like I was talking about before, the beers that they put out are just delicious. I've probably had a dozen or so of their beers that all of them have been great. Granted, they've either been like the smoothie fruited sours or IPAs, but they're all still really, really good. Yeah. And the beers are great. And then they've got I'm always a big fan for can art or merchandise and stuff like that. Their stuff's just really cool. Okay. So I've got stuff like that, hanging around the house. I've got a Drecker tin sign, in what we call the man cave hanging up, or, I think I've got one of those Dickies work shirts from Drecker and a hooded sweatshirt that I got for Christmas a couple Christmases ago. So I'm a big fan.
Yeah. I knew when we got to the D that this would be your favorite brewery, because you've talked a lot on the show about Drecker beers, and I couldn't think of another brewery that you'd had more beers from that start with a D. So
Well, you know what reminded me of them is I actually, you know what I had in place of Drecker before we got on?
Oh, what?
Did you see it?
No, I didn't. What'd you have?
I'm sorry, I'm even going to say this. Dogfish head.
Oh, no.
Look, so I'm going to admit, I was going through everything I could think of. The breweries. I thought of, there was a handful around here, that we know of. Like there's one in Palm Harbor, Florida called Devine, which I hear great things out of, but I don't think I've had any of their beer.
Yeah.
And of course I went to Deschutes and then Dark Horse out of Michigan, but again, I've only had like one or two of their beers.
Me too. I had Dark Horse on there, and I went to look at my list. I'm like, yeah, I thought I had more than one, but I only had one on Untapped that I had logged. Now, whether or not they took them away or not, I don't know. But I'm like, I could have swore I had more Dark Horse, and that was one of my ones on my list. But I removed it because I'm like, I can't recommend a brewery I've only had one beer from.
Yeah, I felt guilty myself. Yeah, and I felt like honestly that I put Dogfish Head on there because I settled.
Yeah,
I was just like, I don't know what else to put, so I was like, okay, this is a good, well-known one. I've had a ton of their beers.
I would have given you so much crap if you left Dogfish Head and not put Drecker on there.
I went over to my beer fridge. And I opened it up, and on top of the beer fridge, so it's a chest freezer that I store all my beer in. And there was one of those beer labels that I turned into a magnet, and there was one of their beer labels right on top. And I looked at it and I was like, oh yeah, the king of things. Drecker starts with a D. Holy crap. Yeah. So I came in here and I came back in the office and I was like, I got to get this done. I got to pull this information out. And yeah, I'm grateful that I did.
Okay.
So,
all right. So, I've had a lot of Dogfish Head beers, and it was probably the second, so just to give you guys an idea, I think my Untapped list lists 89, I'm not even joking, 89 Deschutes Brewery beers.
Okay.
That I've checked into, the unique beers.
All right, I'm going to pull mine up too, but you keep talking.
The only thing that came the next thing that came close to that was Dogfish Head at 15.
Oh, so I wasn't too far off then.
And I couldn't even mention Dogfish Head because although I'm not going to say they make bad beer. For me, the beers they make they're okay. And I understand they were big in the time when beers were not there weren't as many breweries and they were innovating and stuff, but there's a lot of things that Sam Calagione does with his beer that I'm not impressed with. So
he does some weird stuff.
Yeah.
They make some weird stuff.
I honestly, it's not one of my favorite breweries. I do enjoy a few of the beers they do. I'm not saying he doesn't make good beer. He has some good beers, but of the 15, maybe 2 or 3 I rate like really good, and the rest of them are just like, yeah, it's okay, right? It's not that special for me.
Yeah.
But there was one brewery the two breweries that right immediately came to my head with that before I started looking for breweries was Deschutes, of course, number 1, and then the next one, I had written down before I even started looking is a brewery out of Washington State called Drew Brew, and it's DRU. BRU, Drew Brew. And this is out of the mountain range of Snoqualmie Pass. It's Clay, I don't know how you say it. Clay Elam.
See where to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd go Clellum.
Clellum, yeah.
Sure.
But it's basically Snoqualmie Pass. So if you get to the top of the Snoqualmie Pass, there's a brewery there. And they opened in December 2014. And I visited them on my way to visit John, one of those trips, maybe 6 months after they opened. And I'll tell you what, I fell in love with their beer. And I just, immediately, everything I had of theirs was just fantastic, clean, lighter ABV, which I appreciate. Everything they did was sessionable. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit. I think I have a very small blurb. I mean, one paragraph, but basically they do session beers. And the reason they do session beers is because they're up on an outdoor mountain where you're either skiing in the winter or you're hiking and having fun in the summer, and you don't want to be weighted down by heavy beers when you get done with that type of activity. You want something light and refreshing and good. And I have one of my Whaley Becker glasses that you'll probably see me. I probably have a ton of photos on Untappd because I love that Willie Becker glass. It says Drew Brew on it, 20-ounce Willie Becker. And it's I drink a lot of beer from that glass, and I love Drew Brew. And what they have, their little mantra here is, we are of the mountains. We work here, we live here, we play here. It's a way of life that instills an uncomplicated, easy drinking quality to our beers. So here's to being mountain made. And as I mentioned, Drew Brew focuses on producing session beers that can allow a drinker to consume multiple beers within a reasonable time period or session without reaching inappropriate levels of intoxication. And that just summarizes it, right? A variety of styles, very flavorful, very clean, and low alcohol, and they're just really good. So Drew Brew was my second choice there. So Chris, you noticed that I put another brewery under you because I thought we couldn't do this show without talking about Dust Bowl Brewing.
No.
Because Mark, who was eager to hear us talk about our favorite breweries, hoping that we talk about Dust Bowl, I just didn't want to disappoint him. And the reason, I didn't think I had any Dust Bowl Brewing beers, but it turns out I've had one. And again, like you, when I had this one, I got it through Tavour. And I really enjoyed it. It was actually the beer I had was Confused Therapist. It's a triple New England IPA, and I really enjoyed it. Again, I find that these, and I'll talk about a triple New England IPA here in my new and noteworthy as well. I find that's the only real way I can drink a triple IPA is if it's a New England style, because it's not heavy, syrupy, and too alcoholic, right? I think it does a good job of getting that alcohol and that big beer, but without the big beer weight to it. So yeah, Confused Therapist was the beer I had. So I do have a little bit of stuff here, Chris, that we can go through. We can share it. I'll let you start it off and get through the first two, and I'll start the launch. And we'll just talk about Dust Bowl Brewing because we owe it to Mark to talk about his favorite
certainly do.
brewery.
We certainly do. And I wanted to touch on, too, I looked up my check-ins to Robert Elliott just checked in. Robert, I just met Christmas Eve.
Okay.
His mom lives here in our neighborhood, and he grew up in our neighborhood. So cheers, buddy. Thanks for hopping on with us. And hopefully we'll see you this weekend. We're having a bottle share at our training facility this weekend, Denny.
Oh, nice.
We were just talking about, though, check-ins to Dogfish and check-in to Deschutes. I had Johan's going on a lunch break. Okay. We'll chat with you soon, buddy. Take care. Cheers.
Thanks, Johan.
I've had 19 check-ins to Deschutes beers.
Okay. Good.
We were able to get them in Ohio, which was really nice. I did like them. 26 to Dogfish Head.
Okay.
26. Yeah. So, and I also grew up in, for those of you who don't know, in Maryland, which is right next to Delaware, which is where Dogfish Head's located. But we saw a lot of their beers. But anyway, back to Dust Bowl, and let's pull that up here. Okay. Oh yeah,
Eric.
Yeah. So I gotta show off mine too, because this is a Texas beer called Diamond Dogs, and it's even better that it's dog related because it's definitely gonna make it up on the wall when I'm done with it. But it's a Vienna lager, 5% out of Bedford, Texas. This is Turning Point Brewing Company, I believe. Okay. Turning Point. But yeah, just like you were talking about, a little lighter beers, not so super heavy, which I've been a lot more accepting of recently. Anyway, let's get into some Dust Bowl stuff. So they are out of Turlock, California. And let's see, the Confused Therapist was also on my list too.
Oh, you had that one too? Okay.
Yeah, I've got that one, and we'll get into those beers too. I also had the one that he was talking about too. Let's see, where do you want me to? I'll stop
right here
at
the Spirit of Dust Bowl.
Yeah.
Stop it when you get to
perfect
the launch.
timing. Okay. All right, so crap, go back up. The Spirit of Dust Bowl Brewing Company was born decades ago thanks to one family's unwavering passion for adventure and an immeasurable dedication to one another. The tale begins back in the 1930s when the Tate family loaded their Model A and left Oklahoma for a journey that would prove fruitful for generations to come. The Great Depression, coupled with life in the Dust Bowl corridor, had nearly dried up everything the Tate family had, except, of course, their thirst for success and love for each other. That's sweet. I like that. Determined to thrive, Grandpa Tate became a real-life hobo, riding the rails in pursuit of work and a few dollars to feed his family. Ultimately, the Tates survived and settled in California, where they raised their children to appreciate hard work, love for family, a hearty sense of humor, and a craving for new frontiers.
Okay, let me stop you real quick because this first part kind of plays to me a little bit because it's interesting that my grandfather left Missouri, and my grandfather's father was from Oklahoma in a Dust Bowl. They moved from Oklahoma to Missouri, and then my grandfather left home at 16, ran away from home because his father was, a little bit abusive, and hopped a train and was riding trains with hobos, and ended up in California where he signed up. He was doing some odd jobs, and finally he signed up for the Army Air Corps to be a pilot. He was a pilot trainee, and he forged his parents' signature to allow him to go into the Army Air Corps and do that training. So it's funny that their story also has a similarity to some of my background story of how my grandfather left a similar area, rode the trains with the hobos. He had so many stories about how rough those trains were, the conductors that would go out there and just beat the hell out of people because they're not supposed to be riding the trains. And he had a ton of stories. One of the things I regret is that I was never able to capture the stories that he told me on tape where I could have them for the future, right? And write them down and make a story out of them, because he had some fantastic stories that will pretty much die with him died with him because there's no record of it, right? I have a few written things that he wrote, but none of the stories that we talked about, growing up and stuff. So I just wanted to mention that this is not uncommon. I think this has happened to, other families as well.
Well, that happened multiple times throughout the history of our country. Look at the gold rush. Everybody did that during the gold rush too. They forged out into the West for hopes of fortune and fame. But, and just because Johan worded it this way, he said it was nice to chat with you guys. And hey, if you read this on the show, future me will hear it on Thursday. Isn't that awesome? Yeah, buddy, it's pretty awesome. And I hope you're having a great Thursday, Johan. And just Friday is tomorrow, and it'll be here before you know it. Yes. All right. That's for future Johan. So fast forward to 2006, and Turlock, California is a small community located in the agriculturally rich Central Valley and home to Brett Tate, a third-generation Tate family member. A retired high school teacher and coach of 20 years, Brett was cultivating a passion for brewing and searching for a way to make his dream a reality. His good fortune came in the way of the morning paper, which seemed to deliver just the news he needed. Tucked between the sports and weather was an article featuring a young brewer named Don Oliver, winner of the 2006 Samuel Adams Long Shot Homebrew Competition. Not only was Don an experienced home brewer, he shared Brett's desire to start a brewery. Pioneers in their own right, Brett and Don came together determined to craft some of the finest brews ever to emerge from Central California.
Yeah, so it's interesting because I enjoyed a lot of those Sam Adams Long Shot homebrew competition beers that they would do the competition, and then they would release beers in 12 packs or whatever they were that would showcase these winners in different regions of the area. And I'll tell you what, those beers were really good beers. So it's kind of cool that's how they kind of got their, went and got a brewer that was winning long shot competitions and brewing good beer.
Yeah, I definitely think that's pretty cool. And it's one of those things where you have that aha moment and you're like, oh my gosh, right here in the newspaper, that's the guy.
Yeah.
That's the guy.
Yeah. Okay. So in May of 2009, Dust Bowl Brewing produced its first beer known as Hops of Wrath. It takes after the Grapes of Wrath, right? I think it's in the same area where Grapes of Wrath was written, right? Is that not?
I don't know. Yeah, I'll have to look that
I'm
up.
remembering back to my, I just had the guy's name, Steinbeck. No. Damn, who wrote the Grapes of, was it George Steinbeck? Well, whoever wrote the Grapes of Wrath, but Hops of Wrath, I think is the same area in that central California area.
Yes, it's John Steinbeck.
John Steinbeck.
And Salisal, Oklahoma is where they're from.
But where was Grapes of Wrath written?
Oklahoma. Well, I guess, yeah. So it says in the novel, John Steinbeck follows the fictional journey of the Jodes, a family of sharecroppers from Salisal, Oklahoma, forced to migrate west to the Dust Bowl, Salinas Valley, the Salinas Valley of California.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So we're kind of right there. Yeah. Got to get our California history down. And books, John Steinbeck. Yeah. So at least I got part of that right with the Steinbeck.
I'm proud of you. I'll admit, I don't think I've ever read that book.
That was required reading in high school, I think, or junior high, one of those.
Yeah.
Yeah. Back when they required people to read. I don't think they require any reading now in school.
I'm pretty sure they do now, but it's I'll throw it in my Audible. Maybe I'll listen to it on Audible.
It's a classic. All right. So in 2010, Central Valley native Brett Honor joined the partnership with Brett Tate. Together, they opened the Downtown Tap Room in August of 2011. After several years of steady success and growing demand for Dust Bowl beers, the need for a larger facility and expanded production was clear. The Dust Bowl Brewing Company team embarked on a new adventure, building a 30,000 square foot facility to house a new brewery, an expansive tap room, to complement the downtown location. The brewery tap room opened in July 2016 and features two 20-tap towers, a full-service restaurant, indoor and patio seating, brewery views, beer garden with another 20-tap tower, cornhole, of course, bokeh courts, and more. In June of 2020, the original downtown tap room was closed to consolidate operations in Dust Bowl's hometown and develop the brewery tap room experience. I cut this out, but it's interesting because now that I know that Mark works at the Monterey Dust Bowl location, they did do a satellite location. I think around 2018, if I'm not mistaken. I can't remember exactly. And they opened up in Monterey, California, and I think that's where Mark works, is at the Monterey tap room.
Well, that's cool. I like that.
Yeah. So, and to finish this up, Dust Bowl Brewing Company achieved regional brewery status in 2020, producing a record 16,500 barrels of beer for the year. Current distribution includes California, Nevada, Oklahoma, Texas, Pennsylvania, Vermont, and soon in Arizona. Of course, they got to go to Oklahoma, right?
Yeah,
because they're from Oklahoma. They had to go back to their Dust Bowl heritage and have the beer there. So that right there is a little bit of background on Dust Bowl Brewing, Mark Reedy's favorite brewery. And so I hope we did you right by at least talking about Dust Bowl to get it out to everyone else of our listenership around the world, because we're a global podcast, so everyone knows about Dust Bowl now.
Well, what about the beers from Dust Bowl, Denny? Do you have those close by? Because have you had any of their stuff?
Yeah, I just had the Confused Therapist Triple IPA.
Okay, so just that one.
Yeah, that's the one I've had. What have you had? You've had the Public Enemy.
So I've had Public Enemy, which I gave 4.5 caps to.
Oh,
so
nice.
That must be a pretty good one. So I'll back him up on that one. Actually, I had it on my birthday in 2017, so that's pretty awesome. I've had Confused Therapist, which I gave at the time 3.75. Had just Therapist, which I gave 4 caps to. And Therapist I had, so this must have been in 2018 that I had the Therapist. September 10th of 2018 had the Therapist, had Confused Therapist, had the Public Enemy Baltic Porter, and then had another Therapist.
Oh, you have double Therapist
in March of 2019.
Okay.
I don't know where I had a
maybe you were confused.
It would look either way. There's a picture of my dog there with the check-in, so that's pretty cool. I always like that.
Yeah. Well, good. Okay, Chris. Well, you know what? We're almost to the end of the show, but before we close it out, we always like to talk about our new and noteworthy beers. So how about, we've had a few weeks between recording, so surely you have a few beers to talk about.
I did have a few beers. I was able to hop out and get to a couple of breweries. I had to run to Cigar City to pick up my bottles from them. So we did a little beer run to go not only pick up beers, but also stop at a couple breweries.
Yeah.
And the first beer on my list is from Cigar City Brewing. It's called Minato. It's on, they had this on Nitro, which was a milk stout. I believe it had vanilla in it. And it was nice because it wasn't super sweet. And it almost had some barrel and booze characteristics to it. But I got this, Megan and I, like I said, had to run to Cigar City to go pick up some bottles from them. And it was funny because I was like, hey, do you want to try this? And she goes, oh yeah, sure. And she drinks it. She goes, wow, that's really smooth. Like, it's not really bitter or anything. I expected it because it was so dark, it was going to be bitter. And I was like, well, that's what Nitro can do for you, because it makes it a little softer in the mouth and stuff like that. And she goes, I'd actually order that, but I gave that one a 4 cap rating. Next on the list is from Magnanimous Brewing. It's their, whether I pronounce it right or not, the Kamigoye from 2020. It's a barrel-aged imperial stout that they had at their brewery. I gave this one a 5 cap rating, and just phenomenal beer. I mean, simple as that, just a phenomenal beer that I would like to have more of, but it's their batch from 2020. So, but hey, if it shows up, I believe they had it in cans, but it was their 2021 version. But they make some good stuff, because my last beer is also from Magnanimous. It's called Bury Yourself Alive. And this was a beer that Megan actually ordered. It was a sour. It was a fruited sour. It had a handful of different kinds of berries in it: strawberries, blackberries, raspberries. And it wasn't anything crazy. It was something simple, just berry flavored and a nice tart beer. And she's a big fan of just that sour, super tart, super sour flavors in her beer. And that one was right up her alley, because I took a sip of it, and it was just, when I tried it both times, it was like big sweet fruit flavor up front, and then it turned real fast into that tart, like, ooh, that's a little, it sucks in your cheeks a little bit. And she's all about those. So, but gave that one a 4 cap rating too.
Nice.
What about you, Denny? Was on your new noteworthy list? Because you're right, we did have a lot of time.
We had a lot of time, and so I have 5 beers I'm going to talk about, but I'll talk about them quickly. 1 5 cap rating and 4 4.5 cap rating. So I've had some good beers, and I drank a few beers, but these are the highlights, and I think all of them deserve a little bit of showtime. So the first one I'll talk about is the 5 cap rating. I've talked about this brewery before. I'm so happy that they're in town. They're from Portland, Oregon. It's Von Ebert Brewing, and this beer is called A Night in Tallinn, and it's a Baltic Porter. And we just talked about Baltic Porters and how I love that beer. A 5 cap rating for me. And what I said about this is the Baltic Porter is one of my favorite styles, and this beer is fantastic. All the classic flavors, but balanced well without any off flavors from the yeast and fermentation. The perfect Baltic Porter, in my opinion. And I just wanted to thank Von Ebert for distributing to Boise. So yeah, if anyone out there has a chance, if you really want to taste a very good representation of a Baltic Porter, Von Ebert's a night in Tallinn is very, very tasty. The second beer I'll talk about is from Western Collective here in Boise, Idaho, or actually it's in Boise, but it's just outside of Boise. It's Garden City, which is a part of Boise. I mean, I guess Garden City wouldn't say they're part of Boise. It's another city, but it's right next to Boise. And Western Collective, who opened up in the old brewery of Payette, which I like that place. They've changed it up a bit, but this is their 3rd anniversary, and they made a triple IPA. It's a triple New England IPA. I just mentioned how I really appreciate triple New England IPAs after talking about that Confused Therapist from Dust Bowl. This right here is probably one of my favorite triple IPAs I've had. I usually, like I mentioned, triple IPAs can be very heavy, boozy, just hard to drink. It's one and done basically with this, but this beer I could have probably a couple and then I'll be flat on my face because it's a 10+% beer, and it goes pretty good. But this one is, and I'm drinking out of this pint glass that I have here, and it says, I got this from my son, to Dad from the reasons you drink. And I'm drinking from the same glass. I just wanted to. So I said, sporting the pint glass I got from my son for Christmas. This was, and then that saying was true at one time, but not so much now that the kids are grown up. This IPA is super juicy aroma and flavor, really tasty with big tropical citrus fruit blends, a very good beer, and cheers to 3 years Western Collective. And then the next beer I could talk about is from Black Raven Brewing. Black Raven is out of Redmond, Washington. And this is their Black Raven Grandfather Raven Russian Imperial Stout.
Ooh.
And what I said about this, by the way, that Western Collective was a 4.5 cap rating. All the rest of them are 4.5 caps, just so you guys know. So this is a dark roasted coffee on the nose with a hint of dark chocolate. Super thick body and mouthfeel with a mild coffee flavor and roasty chocolate malt. Finished off really well balanced and smooth. A well done Russian Imperial Stout that I think I've had before but is missing from my check-ins. I found several beers that I've had that weren't mislabeled, right? I had Black Butte Porter Anniversary that I had a 4-pack that I had one last year that doesn't show up when I check into it. I'm like, come on, this is ridiculous. I have missing check-ins that Untapped definitely jacked me on my check-in. So I'm a little bit salty about that. But yeah, this Grandfather Raven is really good Russian Imperial Stout. I really enjoyed it. The next one is Firestone Walker Brewing. I've talked about Firestone Walker a lot. This is their Firestone 25th anniversary ale, and this is an American strong ale style. And what I said here, cheers to 2022. This is the first beer I had in 2022. I am starting it off with a special beer, another well-balanced or well-blended anniversary ale with rich complex flavors and super smooth. The barrel character is not too strong and the warming alcohol is very pleasant. Again, 4.5 cap rating. But one thing that Firestone Walker does very well is they blend their beers, these anniversary ales, they blend them really well with a variety of different beers to make a very special beer. And I spend the extra money for the anniversary ales because they're always a little bit different and they're always good. So if you have a chance to get those, definitely go and get them.
Yeah, Eric Gronley said he has a 2020 Firestone Walker Cherry Blossom that he's saving for check-in number 2000, which he's only 5 away from.
Oh, congrats, Eric. Yeah, I look forward to seeing you check into that 2000th beer. And then the last beer I'll talk about is from Jim Dandy Brewing, and it is another Baltic Porter. This is called their Harkness Baltic Porter. And I gave the other one a 5, this one a 4.5. It's still good. 4.5 is a good rating. So since today is the last day of 2021, I drink this on New Year's Eve before 2022. I had to check into my 21st unique Jim Dandy beer this year. So I did 21 unique beers in 21 from Jim Dandy. So can I do 22 in 22, you think, Chris?
I think you can. I just sorry, Haley. That just means your dad's going to come and visit you more.
Yeah, she just needs to make sure she stocks up on all these beers so I can get 22. So I have to visit more. I visited a lot this last year.
Yeah.
But okay, so I said I love Baltic porters, which we all know, and this one is really good. Nice dark chocolate with a hint of light roast, coffee, and the trademark Baltic porter yeast finish. So the only difference between this one, the Jim Dandy, and the one that Von Ebert did, as far as why I have a little bit different rating, why I gave 1 of 5 and 1 of 4.5, is it does have all the traditional Baltic porter flavors, but I did find that the finish wasn't as smooth as the Von Ebert one, where it did have a little hint that, because Baltic porters are fermented with lager. Now I try to remember if it's L yeast at lager temperatures. They're fermented differently, right? So you do get a little bit different behavior from the yeast, and sometimes that can play into some flavors that don't maybe like work it out perfect. I still have a few more cans of those. I bought a 4-pack of that, so I have a few more cans. I'll see if all the beers have the finish is not as smooth as the Von Ebert, but maybe they will smooth out. Maybe I will find that I raise this up to a 5-cap rating as well. If I see that maybe I just need to let it breathe a little bit more, or as it ages a little bit, another week or two, maybe it settles out and smooths out a little bit in the finish. But the finish was a little bit not as smooth as I got with the Von Ebert. That's why I got a little bit different. But it's still a good beer. A 4.5 cap rating is still good. But
yeah, that's actually excellent. It's pretty damn good rating.
Yeah. Okay, Chris, I've talked enough. I think our listeners are ready to get us out of their ears. So let's go ahead and close this show out by raising our glass to some people who like to raise a glass to. So who would you like to raise a glass to tonight?
So I didn't want to raise it to anyone specifically, but everyone who takes the time to come out and listen to us or watch us goof off on the internet. But just wanted to say a big cheers and happy 2022 to everybody. Like Denny said, kind of a more positive year. Let's kind of shoot for that. And cheers to everybody. Again, thank you guys for all the support that you give to us and all the voicemails and emails and comments on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and all that good stuff. But just want to raise a glass to everybody. Cheers. Happy New Year to 2022.
For sure.
And Denny, who would you like to raise a glass to?
Yeah. First off, I would like to raise my glass to our Patreon toast tonight. It goes out to Bill Schlemmer. Thank you, Bill, for your support. We really appreciate it. Yeah. And then, like you, Chris, I also just want to raise my glass to 2022. It's going to be a better year for everyone. We're staying positive. If we all, even though things might happen that aren't the greatest, if we just stay positive, we can have a good year. And that's my my mantra for 2022 is to have a good year. So cheers to everyone. Like you said, all of our listeners that take the time out to skip national championship games to be watching us live. I appreciate that. That means a lot to me. I mean,
that's like Mike Allen just hopped on and he said, "Hey, late to the show, but great to see you guys going strong in 2022."
Thanks,
cheers
Mike.
to you, buddy.
Cheers to you, Mike, for coming in even late. You still show up. I appreciate that.
Yep.
Okay, and of course, being a former serviceman, I always want to raise my glass and thank all those who have served and who are currently serving in the U.S. military services, protecting our freedoms. They mean so much to me. Thank you, and please return home safely to your families as soon as possible. And I guess we decided we're going to hold off on our sponsor for now, and we'll get back to them in maybe next episode. But so we'll just continue on here with letting you guys know that you can find the beers and the links to the articles mentioned in the show in our show notes located on the show post at tapsofcraft.com. And if you would like to follow us on social media, I can be found on Twitter, Instagram, and Untapped at Loose Screw. And Chris, how can our listeners follow you?
Oh, I also want to say a big cheers to Robert Elliott, because he just hopped on. Well, he was on here earlier. Like I said, he grew up in my neighborhood here, but he said, "Cheers, glad to catch my first show." Robert, thanks for hopping on, man. And like I said,
thanks,
I hope we get to enjoy a beer with you this weekend. Jeff Seiler also said, "Cheers to Tap the Craft. This is not not dry January podcast."
Right.
But
cheers to that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah, we'll just take care of that now. But you can never find me on Twitter at Chris_McKenzie82, but you can find me on Untapped and Instagram at MCK1345. And don't forget to interact with us on all things social at Tap the Craft.
All right. It is last call. It's time to bring the show to a close. We want to thank you for downloading and listening to the show. We ask you to please tell a friend. And of course, subscribe on your favorite podcast app. And of course, rate us too. It's okay to give us a 5-star rating or write a review. That helps us as well get out to everyone. So we appreciate that. And as a reminder, we do release a new show every 2 weeks. Now go out there and spread the good word of craft beer.
Cheers.
Cheers.